Many industries and nations have shunned Russia's oil as a result of Western sanctions, driving down the price of Russian petroleum to historic lows. Russia has given India a discount on crude oil. One of India's top oil firms, Indian Oil Corporation, purchased 3 million barrels of Russian Ural from Vitol, a Geneva-based energy and commodities dealer, for delivery in May. Since Moscow started its assault of Ukraine on February 24, India has made its first purchase of Russian-grade Ural. Because oil as a commodity is not restricted, and it was not dealing with a sanctioned organization, IOC saw no difficulty paying for the cargo. IOC said in late February it would buy Russian oil on delivered basis to avoid any complication relating to fixing vessels and insurance. As soon as the findings were out, numerous US and European experts began condemning India, claiming that, if India purchases Russian crude oil, the US government should sanction India, and that US penalties will devastate the Indian economy. While using strong language to decry Russia's military activity in Ukraine, these so-called experts appear to deliberately disregard the fact that all NATO nations have continued to purchase billions of dollars worth of Russian oil and gas. In the meantime, the major NATO countries have provided Ukraine with a large amount of munitions and weaponry, while continuing to buy Russian oil and gas. In other words, they're financing both sides to keep the fight going. Why are so many NATO countries reliant on Russian energy exports? The North Sea field, which was once a reliable source of gas for Europe, is now nearly exhausted. Meanwhile, Russia boasts the world's largest natural gas reserves. The European Union imports over 40% of its gas from Russia, more than twice as much as Norway, its second-largest import partner. Russia exported around $100 billion worth of oil and gas to Europe in 2021. In 2020, Gazprom supplied nearly a third of Europe's gas. Germany, Europe's largest economy, gets more than half of its gas from Russia. Germany has been transitioning away from nuclear power in favor of natural gas, and is attempting to develop a new pipeline to bring in additional Russian gas. In terms of natural gas, there is no infrastructure in place to acquire gas solely from the Middle East or the United States. There are no pipelines, and European ports do not have adequate capacity to accept gas. Norway and the United Kingdom, both non-EU members, generate insufficient amounts. In 2009, people began to freeze to death when Russian gas deliveries via Ukraine were blocked for 13 days, effectively shutting off supply to southeastern and central Europe. It's rather amusing to see the United States paying millions of dollars to defend France and Germany, NATO nations, from Russia, and here they are pouring millions of dollars into the coffers of Russia, making pipeline deals. Tensions between the United States and India appear to be rising over Russia's cheap oil. The US has stated that it will not breach US sanctions by purchasing cheap Russian oil. At the same time, the United States cautioned that India's action would place the world's largest democracy on the wrong side of history. This declaration by the United States comes at a time when global oil prices are increasing, and several European nations, like Germany, continue to purchase oil and gas from Russia. India's attitude in the continuing conflict between Russia and Ukraine is being closely scrutinized by the world community. India has abstained from voting at the United Nations to condemn Russia's aggressions, but has called for an early ceasefire and provided humanitarian supplies to Ukraine. In recent weeks, US officials have stated that they want India to distance itself as far as possible from Russia. However, officials from the Biden administration have shown an understanding of India's stance, telling legislators that New Delhi's national security is heavily reliant on Russian military supply. Despite India's developing economic, diplomatic, and military relations with the West, it still lacks steadfast faith in the West, notably in the United States. Even if it does, it is possible that India may not leave Russia as Western analysts have predicted. By that time, however, the West would have realized that its priorities were incorrect, and that its focus should instead be on partnering with Indo-Pacific states to corner China. At that time, India will maintain its ties with Russia in order to ensure that the Russia-China nexus of convenience does not trump India's regional security, as it does now, by backing Russian defense acquisitions. Without a doubt, Russia owes India a significant debt this time. But, despite the trade-offs, India will not abandon this long-standing connection. To be sure, India requires Russia's help in international forums to combat the China-Pakistan nexus. Despite its links to China, Russia has repeatedly backed India at the UN Security Council, particularly against Pakistan. When there were casualties on the Indian-Chinese border in eastern Ladakh, Russia intervened and accelerated weapons deliveries to India as a message to China. However, without overtly addressing the Indo-Pacific worries, Russia is arming not only India, but also ASEAN states enraged by China. As the Arctic opens up, Russia is poised to re-emerge as a strong force, a territory that China is also eyeing.